Ronit and Vida are the co-founders of WeNatal, a company revolutionizing how we think about fertility. These two best friends met nearly 20 years ago, climbing the corporate ladder, but it wasn't until they both experienced devastating miscarriages within a week of each other that they discovered their true mission. Their doctors told them the same thing. It's common, there's nothing you can do, but they refused to accept that answer.
Men contribute to 50% of pregnancy health and pregnancy loss. Men can easily improve their sperm quality using antioxidants like CoQ10 and NAC.
We get into so much in this conversation.
Our culture has shifted so much since even our grandparents' generation. Our bodies were made to move, to be outdoors, to eat whole foods like our grandparents were. We have to be really intentional about the wellness that is baked into a lot of other cultures.
How the narrative that you're too old or there's nothing you can do is actually robbing women of their power.
And I think society has kind of told us, I was called geriatric in the doctor's office. It doesn't serve you in any way.
And why gratitude became their most powerful tool for managing the stress and grief of loss.
Gratitude is a muscle. The more you train yourself to find gratitude, the easier it'll get.
You could be checking every box in our guide, but if you're so stressed or so negative or doing things that like your whole physiology can't prioritize conception.
This conversation is for anyone navigating fertility, pregnancy, or even just wanting to understand how to optimize their health for the future. It's honest, vulnerable, and full of actionable advice you can start implementing today. Well, thank you so much, both Ronit and Vida, for being here. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you to talk all things WeNatal, your journeys. But before getting into all of that, I know that your relationship did not just start with WeNatal. You go way back. So I'd love to just learn a little bit more about your relationship, your friendship, and where you guys met and kind of the origination story.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Ronit and I met close to 20 years ago at our Nike corporate careers, and we were in our young single lives and literally climbing up the corporate ladder and became best friends and went through our young dating life together, working in the corporate world together, and really always thought we might want to work and do something together. But it wasn't until, our losses and our life happened that we realized our true mission. And so how it started was about 8 years ago. I was running global events at Nike with impeccable precision. I'm talking nailing every detail to make athletes better and thinking through every step of their journey to enhance that ultimate result. And so the ironic part of that is that when it came to my own thoughts of getting pregnant, I treated it like just like a casual jog. We're young, we're healthy, let's just start trying. And didn't think otherwise until I went in for a routine checkup around 14 weeks. And I had passed the first trimester where I thought it was safe to tell everybody and get really excited. And in that appointment, I just see my OBGYN's face drop and the room went silent. And I heard those shocking words that no parent-to-be ever wants to hear. And he just looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry, there's no heartbeat." And it stopped me dead in my track. I mean, it was one of those moments where I was in excruciating tears and pain and really didn't know how this could happen, why it happened. And I was given no guidance except, it's very common, it just happens. And, try again when you're ready. And ushered back through this waiting room of these glowing bellies and cried so much my jaw ached. And I really remember how much it took a toll on my mental health. And I literally analyzed every single thing that I ate, drank, stress at work, a workout, what could have been. I could have chosen any of those one things and said, maybe that was it. And lucky for me, my best friend was Ronit, and she had just had her first daughter, and she was working with Dr. Mark Hyman, one of the best functional medicine practitioners, and she really encouraged me to go deeper. I said, my labs are normal. She's like, go deeper. They might not be optimal. And lo and behold, she was right. I found out I have Hashimoto's and really worked on it with diet and exercise. And I had my healthy baby girl close to a year and a half later with Ronit's guidance. And I thought the nightmare was over until early 2020 when it was peak of COVID chaos. And we were trying for our seconds and went in for another routine checkup to get that same disappointing answer. There's no heartbeat. And I was just told it was common again. And so I didn't think otherwise because now it was my second miscarriage. These are the answers you're given. You just accept it. And I had a little toddler at home to take care of. So I couldn't go down that same rabbit hole. The only difference this time was Ronit called me a week later and she just had a miscarriage. And there we were. We were two best friends, literally the perfect prenatal care routine. We had thought through everything. We had thought we'd done everything right. and zero satisfying answers.
And so in my case, when it was my first miscarriage, and I was shocked and devastated. I had already my first child at home. She was around 3.5 at the time, and I was 41 years old. And when I asked my doctor, what can I do to optimize for a healthy pregnancy next time around? She said to me, there's nothing you could do. It's just your age. Just keep trying. And I felt so hopeless, but I knew better. And I knew not to listen to her. And I actually dived into the research, called all of my doctor friends, nutritionists, functional medicine doctors. And I learned something that shocked me that is so obvious when I say it now. But back then, Vida and I were both stunned. And what we learned really changed the trajectory of our careers, of our lives, and really created this purpose, WeNatal. And that is that men contribute to 50% of pregnancy health and pregnancy loss, and that men can easily improve their sperm quality using antioxidants like CoQ10 and NAC. And so I called Vida and I said, no prenatals out there exist for men. And we need to create a prenatal for men. But we started with our own families. And what we did is we committed for 3 months of trimester 0, which arguably is like the most important trimester from our perspective. And what we did as two couples was really clean up our diet, level up our nutrients from we really looked at every single key nutrient that can support male and female fertility and really leveled up our game. And they're powerful. They really, really matter. Really continue to remove the toxins from our household. These are things that we were doing for many years, but we really kind of brought our husbands into the mix. And for them, they also committed to 3 months of no toxic behaviors. So no alcohol, no smoking, no marijuana, none of those things that are very common and legal, but not optimal for fertility. And what happened in my case is 3 months later, on my first try, I got pregnant with Emma, who was born 4 days after my 42nd birthday. And then 3 months after me, Vida gave birth to her daughter, Davina. So our experiment worked. We really were just so grateful that we didn't just take what the doctor told us, that information, that, that narrative that we're constantly told out there, not just in fertility. The narrative of there's nothing you could do, you have no power. No, there's actually a lot that you could do. And hence why we launched WeNatal.
There's so much to dive into there, especially around sperm health and the male fertility side of things. But before kind of diving into that, I'm really curious because, you both had miscarriages around the same time, both experiences equally as shocking. I'm really curious to know kind of what did that support look like between the both of you, or how did you seek support? Because it is such a shocking experience that you don't expect.
Yeah, it was. And for me, like I mentioned, I was past the first trimester, so I'd already told everybody. I often wonder, so many people are told not to tell anyone you're pregnant until you pass this first, the risky time. But I actually give the opposite advice of tell your close people, because no matter what happens, hopefully everything goes well, but you're going to want your village's support. And thank God I did tell everyone, because it made that conversation, one, easier. And by opening up, I realized my own mother had miscarriages and she never told me. I realized coworkers that I sat next to every single day had experienced that, but never felt open enough to share. And by me being so vocal, it opened the door for people to be more comfortable. And I also felt not alone by sharing and hearing other people's stories. When it happens, you think you're the only one.
And I think to that point is why we're so vocal about it at WeNatal, and we tell our story a lot, and we tell we do have a happy ending. And I think that gives a lot of people who are in the trenches a lot of hope, because it's not easy. Whether or not you have a miscarriage or you have infertility or you have a pregnancy and it's just stressful, it's just the whole thing is very overwhelming. And I think from a medical perspective, we're not necessarily like built to have that like support around us. So definitely getting it through community and talking about it and hearing other people's success stories. I mean, I think that's what like gave me the hope, because again, I was 41 years old. And when my doctor said to me, it's just your age, I didn't know if I could have another baby, you know, but really leaning into stories from friends that did have their rainbow babies, that really helped me navigate what was.
I think just being vocal as human beings, I think is what drew me to WeNatal and the both of you in general, because I do think that, you know, people maybe can create products and create businesses, but you don't necessarily always know what that origin story is. And I think you being so vocal and having that transparency about something that's so vulnerable, I think will only bring people in closer to you and also ultimately the product and brand as well.
That's what also gave me so much healing, sharing the story and being able to help others. We constantly get emails in from people and DMs of thank you for sharing, because I knew what to do. We even created a pregnancy loss page for people to have the resources that we wish we had. And so everything about our brand is community over isolation, you know, empowerment over fear. That's who we are at WeNatal, and that's what we wish we had during our journey. And that's what we're here for everyone behind us to know they have a community, and we can be that too for you guys.
And you are the first ones, at least as far as I know, that are talking about male fertility and just really opening up conversations that are maybe hard or maybe not even talked about at all in general, which is that, you know, sperm health matters. It's, you know, two partners. How did you start to kind of broach that topic with your respective partners? Because it is maybe potentially uncomfortable.
I think in our case, when we both experienced the loss, like our partners were willing to do anything. Of course, like they experienced the loss too. And, you know, I think like the best way to approach it with partners is this isn't forever. Like in the partner's case, they need to change their diet and lifestyle for a short period of time up until conception. We say 3 to 6 months before conception. So it's not forever.
Right.
And then what starts to happen, and what happened in our husband's case, is all of a sudden they start feeling better. They start having mental clarity and focus. Some say that they get like stronger libido, that their hair is starting to grow. So a lot of our WeNatal men actually love being on the prenatal long term because sperm quality, men's health, fertility, it's all intertwined. And it all feeds in together. So if you're focusing on improving your fertility, you'll be improving your health as well. And then you'll start feeling better. So I think when we launched WeNatal, we weren't sure, like, are men going to buy this product, you know? And of course, in the beginning, when we first launched, it was mostly women buying the product for their partners. And, you know, we sell our product as WeNatal together, like the him and the her together in a kit. And we sell them individually for him and for her. And I would say now, 3.5 years in, we have so many men that are just buying it on their own. And, you know, we have free nutrition consults for anybody who subscribes to WeNatal. And I remember about 6 months after launching WeNatal, Lisa, our mutual friend, and she's our nutrition director, called me and said, a man just showed up on a nutrition consult. And we were so excited because men are really, you know, starting to learn about their role, and they really want to contribute, but a lot of times they don't know how. And so WeNatal is giving them that tool and the ability to participate. The most important time in a couple's life, really, in creating life and creating the blueprint for their child's entire life. And so we're very grateful, and we hear so many stories nowadays from WeNatal men. I mean, we got a text message this morning that was like pretty funny. A WeNatal dad, somebody who has had 2 kids with WeNatal, who claims that we need to put a warning label on our men's product because they had their second child the day after their first child's birthday.
First birthday.
First birthday. So true Irish twins. But anyway, he texted us a photo of his smoothie this morning because they ordered the protein powder for men, protein prenatal. And he said, I'm blaming you if a third comes. So we have a lot of great stories from our WeNatal men. And I feel like now it's just becoming 3.5 years after launching. Like, I mean, it's not that shocking anymore. And a lot of prenatal brands are starting to create formulas for men. There's definitely more of that like awareness out there. And we're so grateful to have like started that conversation.
Yeah. And what I think is so great of what you said is like men didn't know how to participate in the conversation because they've never really been like included in it because it's always been about the woman, like the woman's age, the woman's egg reserve, whatever it is, the woman, it's all about like, we've done something, right? But you've opened up like the aperture, the conversation and widened it so that there's a different perspective now that men can be like, oh, like what could I do?
And you mentioned like, how was it talking to partners? Yes, we came from losses, but maybe not everyone in your audience will. And sometimes I know in my own relationship, I didn't want to feel like I'm momming him. Like, don't drink that, don't eat that. You need to clean up, like it gets exhausting. What really worked for me is Ronit would arm me with the right articles to send, those subtle or reels to forward, but like them hearing it from trusted sources, sometimes that's a better angle than feeling you have to be the one disseminating all the information. And you don't want to put the burden also on your relationship. So it's about how you empower him to take charge. And like Ronit mentioned, it is such a crucial time to put your best foot forward. Guys, if you are literally going to run the LA Marathon, you would do the things. You would buy the shoes. You would get the right gear, the nutrition plan, the training plan, maybe a coach. Like you would do the things so that you show up on race day and feel prepared and that you can do it well. Not just do it just to like, so wouldn't you want to do the same with your child? Like you want to do it well and put your best foot forward. And that's the way we can get through to them. Like treat it like a team sport.
That's actually such a good point too, because with a marathon, you would train for it. You wouldn't just like wake up one day and be like, I'm going to get up and run the marathon.
Nope. It's painful. I've done that. It's not fun. And my knees like never came back after, but I've done ones where I train and I feel so good crossing the finish line and you put your best foot forward. The time is amazing. Think about the health you're giving your child. It's not just about a healthy pregnancy. It's their blueprint for their life. So you want a smart kid, you want an active kid, you want an all-star kid. It's on us to take the responsibility, not just women, but both partners.
That's actually also a good point of like this preconception, trying to conceive kind of phase is actually not just about the healthy pregnancy, but it's also just like the life.
Lifelong health. I mean, for us, we talk so much about trimester 0 that sometimes people ask us, they'll reach out and they'll say, I'm pregnant now. So now can I take your prenatal like while I'm pregnant? But the
answer is yes.
The answer is yes. But the reason why we're so passionate about it is because first of all, you want to make sure to build your nutrient reserves because sometimes like once you get pregnant, you're nauseous, it's hard to swallow pills and you just can't eat as healthy as you did before you got pregnant. So that's one. But two, like the main reason is really from a male perspective, men have the unique ability to regenerate sperm through this process called spermatogenesis. So their sperm is constantly regenerating. And what that means is that your partner's sperm today was essentially created 3 months ago. So within those 3 months, all of the inputs that, will impact the sperm quality because sperm is very sensitive. And so it can be impacted by oxidative stress and just the environment and heat. And so you want to make sure that in those 3 months, you're taking in those nutrients that are protecting the sperm so that the sperm quality is at its finest. And I will say, like we always say that men have a superpower because as women, we're not regenerating eggs. We are born with the eggs that we're born with. But going back to that 3 months of trimester 0, the 3 months leading up to ovulation are also very important when it comes to egg quality. You're not going to create a new egg, but you can impact how the egg matures. And that's why the 3 months before conception are critical.
What you're saying about sperm, I was thinking like, gosh, they're so lucky.
They're
so many
so
chances.
lucky.
Yeah.
So lucky.
Yeah.
A man is generating 1,500 sperm every second of the day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, but with that, men should know that aging can impact their sperm quality, diet, lifestyle, oxidative stress. So they need to focus on improving it as much as we're focused on improving our egg quality.
So you've mentioned trimester 0 and kind of touched on a few of the things that both men and women can do to optimize in that 3-month or even maybe 6-month period before. What's the list? What are those like top maybe 4 or 5 things that people should be doing in that preconception phase?
Such a great question. I would say, from our perspective, the easiest thing, lowest hanging fruit is obviously taking a prenatal for women and men.
Yeah.
But we also know that you can't supplement yourself out of a bad diet. So really diet and lifestyle is the foundation of everything. So like what you put in your body, we talk a lot about the Mediterranean diet when it comes to fertility, focusing on protein, focused on balancing your blood sugar, eating colorful fruits and veggies. And I would say, from a high level, focusing on eating real food. And we know that 70% of the American population is eating ultra-processed foods and is overfed and undernourished. So making sure that you're consuming real foods, cooking at home, ideally, of course, go out, have fun, but really focus on eating real food. That's one.
Yeah.
Number 2 is your environment. We know that there's a lot that we can't control. We hear about, plastics that are everywhere, microplastics in our clothes, in our, it's everywhere. But there is a lot that you can control. So getting a good quality air filter, getting a good quality water filter, removing plastics from your household as much as you can, like in your kitchen, removing those nonstick pans like Teflons, things like that. And then what you're putting on your body. So making sure that you're using clean products. And it's not that hard nowadays. I mean, it's back when I was trying to have my first 10 years ago, it was a little fringe to get, those
Totally.
clean products and clean makeup. But now it's everywhere and it's so great. And your community doesn't have to do it all at once. It's something that can happen slowly with time.
Yeah.
And then I would say the last part is we have movement, just making sure that you're moving. We know that the average American is spending 92% of their time sitting indoors.
It's so bad.
So making sure that you're moving and then also investing in your sleep. I think sleep is so underrated, but it's so important for fertility, for detox, for resetting, for brain health. And so focusing on your sleep and having a good sleep hygiene. And we have a guide on WeNatal, wenatal.com/guide that really breaks through step by step. How to tackle this as a couple.
It's so crazy, the things that you're mentioning, eat real food, sleep well, move. And there's such basic things that everyone knows, but for some reason, we're just not set up for it as just a society and lifestyle and culture. So I was just mentioning earlier that I just come back from Korea. And when I was there, obviously, it's a bigger city where I was staying. And without trying, every day, 15 to 20,000 steps, because you're up and down subways, going, you're just walking around, things to see, and you're not trying. It's just a part of
your
the culture.
life.
The life. Whereas here, since I've been back, I've been kind of jet lagged and not moving. And so when I look at my moves, my steps, it's 2,500. If I don't actually intentionally go out for a walk, it's bad.
Really,
The culture, I'd say our culture has shifted so much since even our grandparents' generation that it's as if we're operating with new iPhones with old, software. It's there's a mismatch.
Yeah.
And so here we are sitting indoors, eating ultra processed food. Our bodies were made to move, to be outdoors, to eat whole foods like our grandparents were. And so we have to be really intentional about the wellness that is baked into a lot of other cultures. But sadly here it's become normal to not do the things that are so foundational to our health.
Yeah.
And I think when a lot of people ask us there is a fertility crisis that we're looking at now. 1 in 5 couples are experiencing infertility. 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. Yeah. Sperm counts have declined 50% in the last 50 years. And a lot of times people ask us what's going on. And, all you have to do is look back 50 years. Like 50 years ago, we were doing things very differently. I think we just need to kind of, and we just had a panel with our amazing friend Mona Sharma, and it's like, wellness also doesn't have to be that complicated.
Right.
We have to think back to our ancestors and how they were living and what they were eating and what they were doing and say, okay, like how can I go back to my roots a little bit?
I just take a look at my mom, knock on wood, she's like pretty healthy. What she does is she gardens. And she goes on walks. It's nothing crazy. She's not signing up for these like high intensity boutique studio workouts that we all have now. She keeps it really simple. And that's actually really healing, just to go back to the basics of what our ancestors have done.
I just think being with nature. My mom's gardening all day long. She's outside. She's moving. She does not sit. I'm sure your mom's the same.
Exactly.
And so to your point, they're living a very much more natural, healthy lifestyle. And I can tell the difference in my mom and my dad. My dad is way more sedentary. He's also older, but as with aging parents, you just see innately someone who's like doing the things, their longevity. And so it's also not about just looking good and feeling good today. It's about us aging and like feeling good later in life as well.
One thing, Ronit, that you had mentioned though, as a part of, the things to kind of watch out for in that trimester 0 period is balancing blood sugar. And I feel like that conversation is just now kind of starting, where people are seeing the importance of that. And like transparently, that's something that I kind of struggle with. So I have a little bit of insulin resistance, like a little bit elevated A1C, all of that. So that's something that I'm actively working on. But I feel like that conversation hasn't really been out in the public until maybe the past few months, I feel.
It really hasn't been. But what I love to see is now even conventional fertility doctors are starting to talk about two main things. I mean, we can bucket it over lifestyle, like high level, say lifestyle, diet and lifestyle, but really they're starting to talk about like blood sugar and inflammation impacting fertility. And it's important. And, if somebody wants to kind of, I'm sure you've heard in the news about like Ozempic babies and GLP-1s.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like when you maybe lose a few pounds and your blood sugar is balanced, and we know that PCOS is the number 1 cause of infertility, and that is often associated with like, blood sugar imbalance. And so it's super important to work on, especially as someone tries to gear up for and prep for like a healthy pregnancy, because obviously you also want to avoid having gestational diabetes. And so you really want to set the foundation in trimester 0.
I'm curious, have either of you experienced the blood sugar, like gestational diabetes or? Yeah,
I had it with both pregnancies.
Okay.
It was so shocking. Obviously, I was working at Nike in a high stress corporate career, sitting all day, eating snacks. Like I wasn't, even though Nike was like a quote unquote sports and wellness brand, the lifestyle I was living when I was there was not.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it was
Still
really
corporate.
Correct. It was corporate, and I was working 24/7, loved what I did, but not taking care of myself. And so I remember the first time I was told I had gestational diabetes, I thought it was like a death sentence. I was so upset, had no idea. I was already high stress because of the earlier miscarriage. So everything that happened was like heightened. And then actually what ended up happening is me learning some simple tricks. I was poking my finger an hour after every meal, but I started to do the things that I should have been doing all along. After every meal, especially big ones, I would take a walk around the block. I would pair, like, if I had fruit, I would pair it with like a good fat or like a yogurt. I would do things versus I was probably just snacking on whatever was available in the office. And my blood sugar was probably all over the place my entire pregnancy. And so what ended up happening is it was a blessing for me because I actually learned how to eat way better for me. And the data of, poking your finger and literally learning what works and doesn't work for you was very empowering. I never had to take insulin. I was able to manage it with diet and movement.
That's great.
It was very empowering. And then I got it again with my second. I knew what to do. It wasn't as scary, and it was very empowering. And, it wasn't ideal, but I wish I knew now all the things I would have implemented back then. And we're very passionate about helping people avoid it if they can.
Yeah, for sure. And then Ronit, since you have more of like a functional medicine background, Do you feel like that knowledge helped you and you kind of were armed with certain things to do or not do?
Yeah, I had already, when I was pregnant with both of my kids, like done where it was like on like a paleo diet. So I actually never had, gestational diabetes, and definitely knew how to manage, my diet, at least before pregnancy. But I will say, like, once you get pregnant, it's like game over with like food sometimes. It's like all you want to eat is like carbs. And it's really hard to get protein in. And so it's really hard to balance your blood sugar when you're actually pregnant. So having those healthy habits in advance is like really helpful.
Yeah.
And that's actually like one main reason why we created our protein powder. So it's the protein powder prenatal. And we did it because it is so hard to get protein in when you're pregnant because of food aversions. I mean, for me, like I couldn't smell like scrambled eggs. It just like, anything that's like kind of like cooked, you just couldn't smell. And so I would stick with like cottage cheese, things like that in smoothies. But what we did with our protein powder is we combined it with a full spectrum prenatal and collagen. So you're getting the benefits of all, because we also know that your protein needs increased by 25% when you're pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And 1 out of 8 pregnant women are not getting enough protein. And this is enough considering like the RDA. So like probably way more are not getting like optimal amounts of protein.
Yeah, 25% is actually a lot.
Yeah.
Because, I don't necessarily track my macros or anything, but I'm fairly certain I don't get enough protein. So to even get to my own base level and then it's another 25 when pregnant, that's,
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But I do love that the product actually incorporates your prenatal. So it kind of simplifies the process for a lot of women out there.
Yeah, we found that wellness is becoming increasingly more stressful. And that's the last thing we want to do. We want to reduce steps, reduce, and make it easier. Because if you can't stay consistent with it, you're not going to reap the benefits. And what I noticed before WeNatal was that Ronit had me on like 12 different supplements. I was trying, not successfully, to take all these pills, and they were all ugly and medical looking bottles. I was hiding them in cabinets and I wouldn't take it because it was cumbersome. I couldn't take them to work. And so by getting WeNatal down to 3 capsules a day for the nutrient density of 8 is a game changer. I could actually take it with breakfast and lunch. I'm done for the day. And I feel great versus before I was definitely nutrient depleted, which is hence why I got, gestational diabetes. There were so many issues in my pregnancy we won't talk about, but learning now that so many of them are tied to nutrient depletions. And even postpartum, I thought when I had my kids, you just stop taking a prenatal. That's wrong. You need the prenatal so much because postpartum, the baby has now taken all the nutrients that it needs. You're now sleep deprived, taking care of another human, possibly breastfeeding, and it is hard on your body.
Yeah.
And so the PSA also is like, please make sure you continue for both parents taking a high quality prenatal postpartum so that your energy and you could restore everything that got, lost.
I actually didn't realize that. I thought it was like, okay, maybe through the pregnancy and then you're kind of done and then, okay.
That's what I thought. And then I got so depleted. I broke a toe because my bones became so brittle. I got a root canal because I didn't know. Again, she took everything she needed from me and like literally down to my teeth. I bumped into the couch, broke a toe. I got a root canal. I mean, so you can imagine the nutrients leave your body to give the baby everything they need.
Yeah.
And you're left depleted.
One thing that I'm hearing in all of that though is that there's a lot of stress that happens like through kind of the fertility pregnancy journey. And I think I think we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but like trimester 0 and just like being super mindful of what your stress levels are and like regulating your nervous system, trying to like calm the anxiety. I mean, I'm sure it's hard. Like
it's easier said than done.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm an anxious person. So like I can just think of something right now and I'll just like get a little anxious. But just finding practices that will support that. Do you have any personal tools that you feel have helped you when it comes to stress management?
One thing that, we love that question so much because oftentimes we think about like the body and we don't think about the mind and the impact of like the mind on the body.
Yeah.
But there is for sure an impact. And we know that our lives are just getting like more stressful and more stressful. Like the stress isn't going away. So it's about figuring out how to manage the stress. And for us, like what we did at WeNatal is we created a manifestation journal that has a ton of gratitude prompts in there. And we know now that gratitude is a muscle that helps you, you know, really helps you manage stress and really helps regulate your body. And for me, I personally use gratitude, even like with all the loss I've had this year, you know, like I lost my house and all of that. I always go back to a place of gratitude because there's so much to be grateful for, even when your life feels like the hardest. But, you know, like in my case, I lost my house, my community, our kids' school, all of that in the Palisades fire. But I was so grateful for every single person that like showed up. And I had the most amazing community that really showed up to support and navigate me through the process. And I'm still so grateful for it. And so I think it's, even in the hardest times, it is possible to find things to be grateful for. And gratitude is like a muscle. The more you train yourself to find gratitude, the easier it'll get.
I really love that you mentioned that because I do feel like, especially living in LA, you hear all the wellness talk and all of that. And I think sometimes gratitude can be one of those terms where people just sort of gloss over. But there is actually also scientific research that shows the impact, the positive impact of it.
I think there's more and more research coming out. It used to be a bit more woo-woo, and we would talk about meditation or journaling and all that. And it was like not as well received. But nowadays there's more and more research evolving to showing that it actually changes our physiology. So like just working out our muscles at the gym, we actually need to practice gratitude because over time it's a muscle that will be strengthened and change your physiology. Yeah. It's very powerful. And like, I can't even tell you the perfect examples. I have so many people in my inner circle who are so stressed about trying to conceive. I have one that even ended up adopting because they were told they can't have kids. Once they adopted a child, they had one naturally.
Oh my gosh.
And I have the same with a family who got a surrogate. And then once the stress of having the children. So it shows that like you could be checking every box in our guide and clean air and clean water filters, no plastics in your house, clean beauty products. You could check every single box. But if you're so stressed or so negative or doing things that like your whole physiology can't prioritize conception, it's literally going to move the blood and the nutrients to your limbs as if you're being chased by a bear. Yeah. And even me in a high stress corporate career for 20 years, that's probably what was happening every single day. My adrenaline was off the charts. Yeah. And my cortisol. And so you realize that it is a good chance to like slow down, get an Oura ring, do some things to restore back to the basics.
Stress is one of those like silent movers because we don't actually realize that we are stressed or we're just like used to it.
Totally.
You know, I split time between here and Austin, and I notice, you know, there's much less traffic in Austin versus here. And so when I'm in traffic here, like you just kind of get used to this heightened sense. But when because I go back and forth, I can notice it a lot more. Yeah. But when you're here full time, you can just like, you don't even notice it. It's just a part of the culture.
Yeah. And why I love the Oura Ring is because it actually, one of the newer features is that it actually tracks your stress during the day. Yeah. And so I'll notice sometimes things that I think throughout the day are like, fine. I was super stressed for hours on end, which is not ideal. Yeah. And then some things that you don't even think about, like coffee with a friend. I went down to like restored phase. I'm like, oh wow, community like matters and it helps. And so, but again, it's all whatever works for you. There isn't one size fits all. There's, you know, methods to track your steps and all that. But like finding some data can help you find what works for you and what doesn't. Again, doesn't have to be forever. Sometimes data and analytics can also drive you nuts if you're like too rigorous about it. It's too much.
I'll have nights where I'm like, I'm not checking my Oura ring because I know for a fact the score is going to bum me out. Yeah. So I'm not going to.
Yeah.
For sure. It's all balance. It's all about like whatever serves you. And there isn't a one size fits all for health and wellness. But going back and listening to your body, again, we're tuned to actually rule it out. Like we stay up past our bedtime because we want to scroll or we want to watch TV. Like we're doing things counterintuitive. Even when our body tells us it's tired, we're pushing through with caffeine. I'm guilty of it. I love coffee. Yeah. But again, if we today I did mud water. I didn't want it. I wanted coffee, but I was like, I need a break from all the caffeine. And so it's a gentler form of caffeine. Find what works for you. Yeah. And the point is also to enjoy life and not feel like the fertility or whatever stage you're in is so rigorous. I think that's also what a lot of wellness people think has to be complicated, it has to be hard, or else it's not worth it. And like, that's no way to live. That's not, the stress of it is worse than the actual thing, the toxin that you wanted to take part in, you know?
Totally. But I will say, just transparently, the one thing that does consistently stress me out if I think about it is age.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to fertility and just honestly like life in general now. I just feel like with aging, there's certain things, of course, have gotten easier with time. You know, you're more confident and self-assured, and, you know, maybe career stuff has like stabilized. But there's all this other stuff of like, is it too late for, you know, fertility stuff? You see aging parents. Like, there's just a lot more, I don't know, challenging, complex situations that pop up.
I mean, I think that's so true. And I feel you on like the aging parents. But I will say, like, Vida and I, just on the way here, we're talking about how like there's this narrative that we're constantly hearing. I was told you're too old.
Yeah.
And there's this narrative of you're over 35, so you're geriatric, or they're advanced maternal age, or whatever the label is. But for us, like, our big PSA is like, there is so much that you could do to improve your fertility at any age. You know, the concept of like your biological age versus your chronological age. And so I know that back when I was 41 and my doctor said it's just your age, around that time I did a test that looked at my biological age, and it was like 30, 31 or 32. And so I thought, like, I don't feel old. I don't look old. My cells are not old. And so I think that it's just something that's also feeding into that kind of like stress and that narrative. And it's important to take information as like information and not let it overwhelm you. Like, for instance, when I was 34, before I met my husband, I did a test to look at my fertility, and my AMH was 0.5, which is low. Under 2 is low. I took that as a data point. I knew I was healthy, and I didn't like freak out over it. So I think it's, and actually my sister said, I said to her, if you want, you can like check your fertility, but you have to go into it knowing like, if you're going to freak out over the numbers, those numbers might not serve you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
And with anything, it's multi data points that makes the full picture. And I think society has kind of told us, I was called geriatric in the doctor's office.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve you in any way. And there's so many things at play. And so the more you can actually try to rule out a little bit of the noise and like ensure yourself with the certainty that you are healthy, you can have a child, it's all physiologically going to help you down the line of telling your body it's safe, it's calm. And there's a ton, no matter what you do or where you go, in personal, corporate, wherever, there's going to be a ton of like oxymorons, if you will, of like people who are young and have issues, people who are older and get pregnant easily, people who, you know, get a promotion to VP after doing nothing. Like, there's always going to be these stressors.
Yeah.
The more you go inward and just try to have like strength in yourself, it will help you get through whatever challenge that is. And like you said, it's not just age. There's so much more to the picture. Take it as one data point and keep it moving.
and I think it's also like approaching fertility knowing that like you did everything you could to improve your fertility naturally. And like sometimes there will be people that end up needing assisted reproductive technology. And like that is completely fine. And like everything that you did will actually improve your odds of IVF or IUI. I mean, we have so many customer stories with their WeNatal babies, but one specifically that comes to mind, this girl, Cassie, she had about 13 rounds of various losses, whether they're failed IUIs, failed IVF, ectopic pregnancy, miscarriages. And then her doctor told her, as a last resort, maybe go on a gluten-free, dairy-free diet. This is after a couple of years of hell, essentially, for this couple. And she went on a gluten-free diet, discovered, learned about functional medicine, healed her gut. Her and her husband found WeNatal. They both took WeNatal, and they had one last embryo, and there was some issue with the thawing process of the embryo. And so the doctor said, I think we should just toss this embryo. it's not going to work. And she at that point felt like she really built a strong foundation physically. And she said she wanted to try it. And that embryo ended up becoming their daughter, Emma. Fast forward a year later, after Emma was born, they wanted to try for baby number 2. And they thought that IVF was their only option because, again, they had a long road until Emma was born. So they tried IVF and it failed. And they decided to take a break. Meanwhile, her and her husband have been on WeNatal for like years now. And they took a break. And while they took a break, they conceived naturally and had a son. And so we hear stories like that on a regular basis. So I just want your community to know, like, there's so much that you could do to support your body. And at least knowing that you're going into it, putting in the effort from both sides, like improving your egg and sperm quality, improving your physiology, improving your mental state. And again, like at the end of the day, some of it is also luck. And some of it is also like some things that we might not know. Fertility is a space that is just constantly evolving. And I'm sure like every day there's more research coming out, but at least going into it, knowing that you did everything possible. And also like, not sticking to this narrative of it's just luck or there's nothing I could do or, that's just like so hopeless.
And it's crazy though that the doctor for that couple, as a last resort was like, oh, get rid of the gluten.
As a last resort.
Should have been the first.
That should be the first resort. And, a lot of people are going from trying to conceive straight to IVF, but nothing in the middle. And, our vision for WeNatal is that we can empower people and get to people and like that there will be so much that people understand that they could do before going down that route.
Yeah. You mentioned vision, so I'm kind of curious, and it seems like you all are both into manifestation and all of that. What are you currently manifesting for WeNatal?
Yeah, I think for me, it is truly the bar has shifted, and we've shifted the gender paradigm that fertility is all on the women. I think we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And the new norm is that both couples check their health, both couples put the work in, and that is like the foundation. To me, that's where I see that's where my manifestation energy is going.
Yeah. And for me, like, we have so many couples that like stop us on the street or DM us like ultrasound pictures and invite us to their baby showers. And, we've helped up to 30,000 families up until this point. And it's been so, so gratifying. And so for me, my vision is like, the losses that we had were so devastating. And when I look back at it, it was so, so painful. But I'm also so grateful for those 2 little souls that came into our lives for such a short time, because it gave us our life's mission. We've helped so many people. And my vision is that, we'll help millions of people and really can help reverse this fertility crisis that we're in.
So I didn't share what these cards are, but these are like little prototype things. There's a question on each card, and you can pick any card, and let's just see what happens here.
All right. Share a dream that's still quietly living inside you.
Oh,
it's a powerful question.
And you can pick one too.
Yeah. I love public speaking. I love like sharing my stories. So maybe, I don't know, Ronit said that I need to one day do a TEDx or something, but maybe it is like getting a bigger platform to share this mission with. I feel like I've always wanted to be Oprah. Maybe one day I'll have a talk show. Who knows? I just think sharing, like I find so much power in conversations just like this.
Yeah.
A heart to heart. We're helping people. Your audience hopefully leaves with like a few good, nuggets that they can take with them, and doing that on a large scale.
Yeah, a WeNatal podcast.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
She is Oprah, and she loves the mic.
Love the mic.
Anytime you see her on stage with a mic, you could see she's in her like element. So
True.
Okay. I used to think I need X, but now I know I need Y. Wow. I used to think I need to be busy.
That's a good
I'm
one.
like a doer. Okay. I never stop. And
Truly.
now I know I need presence and just to chill a little bit. Sometimes like doing less. And anytime I do less, I have the most creative ideas that, benefit everybody around
Truly.
me. So yeah, that would be mine.
That's a really good one. I'm curious. You'd probably be like a generator if you know your human design.
I'm a manifesting generator.
Manifesting generator.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you?
I'm a generator. Yeah.
I don't know what I am. I have to do it.
Yeah, you should do it. You know who does it is, do you know who Gwen Dittmar is?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
we love
yes,
her.
yes.
Yeah.
She's so sweet.
She's a great one. In that vein, though, of like being less busy, I'm curious for the both of you. You're obviously both very busy running the company, being wives, mothers, all of this. And I don't know if balance is the right word for it, but like, how are you kind of managing all of it, even tactically, of like, are there systems, are there things that kind of bring more ease and space into your life so that you can manage everything?
I'd say balance is not the right word for us because we have very little.
Yeah.
What ends up happening, I think for me at least, I'm very grateful to Ronit and my whole village, like parents, grandparents, cousins, like everyone helps us in some way, whether my husband's parents is cooking for us, my parents come over to babysit, Ronit's mom has both of our young girls while we have the old girls. Like it is a balancing act at any given time. Or we love Saturdays, we call them bestie days, but typically like our kids will play and we'll nail down like everything we couldn't get to in the week. And so it's finding what works, but the village is such a game changer, whether it's friends, someone who can help with errands, cooking, a nanny. Like feel so grateful for everyone, like teachers at school, everyone who just plays a role in helping support us so we can give our mission to the world. Without it, you literally, you can't.
Village is a must. And I mean, I will also say that like Dr. Hyman always said, like, if you want something done, give it to a busy mom. Like we don't waste time and we get things done. But I will say like the one big game changer for both of us this year is we really invested in like our health and wellness. We decided to practice what we preach. I think like starting a company and having like babies at the same time was a lot for both of us. But this year, my sister who does like meal prep, this is like what she does for a living, meal prep for us since January, and also committed to like a gym routine and a trainer. And I think investing in, I guess, like our food and movement really helped us, I don't know, carve out space for us outside of like work, but in a way, it's like also all scheduled and part of a system. So it's like not anything that we have to like think about.
Yeah.
So it comes a lot easier.
Like lightening that mental load.
Exactly.
But also there's never enough time. So scheduling the thing that matters, like we live by our calendars and we had to end up carving the time for the workouts. If not, it just wouldn't happen. There's never going to be a moment where you're not busy, but realizing it is okay to take the hour for yourself. And I typically, when I come back from a workout, my brain and my body feels so much better.
Yeah.
I could actually do better work, think more clearly. Before I was just like more stagnant. But I thought I always had to be in front of a computer. And so these small shifts that make you feel better will go a long way in your business, in your personal life, all of the things.
In your fertility journey.
All of it.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
I selfishly had to ask the question because I'm hoping in 2026, like that for me, a main goal is like, how can I bring more ease and also create more space so that I can pursue this like solo motherhood by choice journey with a bit more ease and less stress, because I know it'll be a lot. So
having that foundation before you become a mom will be imperative.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. I know that the community is going to take away so much from it, so many good tangible tips. And that's a big thing for me so that people know it's not just like a good conversation and interesting, but that there's things that they can actually do in their everyday lives to improve their health. So thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
This was so fun.